We are back for another UFC preview and predictions. The main event this weekend, Thiago Santos taking on Johnny Walker at 205 pounds. We've got 13 fights on this card. Thiago Santos trying to get back into the top 5 of the light heavyweight division, and Johnny Walker really trying to get himself into the elite discussion at light heavyweight. And folks, if you have not yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for some more UFC here on the channel. Let's get into this 13 fight card. So our first fight is Shanna Young and Stephanie Egger, two fighters who are known for their ground game, but in both their last fights did get overwhelmed on the ground. For Shanna Young, you got that loss to Chiasson all the way back in early 2020 in New Mexico. It was on the Anderson Blakovic card. Early on the prelims, Chiasson goes in there, out wrestles Shanna Young basically for 15 minutes in the second and third rounds, really just takes over with the top positioning in that fight. Shanna Young really couldn't get anything started in that one. And for Stephanie Egger, she made her UFC debut on Fight Island just about a year ago. She lost to Tracy Cortez. In that fight, Cortez just really outworked Egger on the ground. Stephanie Egger couldn't get anything going. So we've got two fighters here in Young and in Egger who did not look great in their last fight, given Shanna Young took the fight against Chiasson, I do believe on short notice. Chiasson was a big favorite in that fight. She was number 12 going into that one, and Shanna Young before that was supposed to be fighting in Invicta. For Stephanie Egger, she took on Cortez on short notice as well, coming off of a win just a month previously on Buddy MMA Clash, picking up a rear naked choke win. Both Egger and Young, though, solid ground games, but again, they got outmatched in their previous fights. But again, it's Chiasson and Tracy Cortez, two ranked fighters at their own respective weight classes. This fight, though, is going to be at 135 pounds. Egger's fighting against Cortez, obviously 135, and Chiasson and Young at 135 as well. I think Shanna Young should win this fight. I wasn't overly impressed with Stephanie Egger in her last fight. I know she's got a pretty good ground game, pretty solid judo, but if you're looking at this fight, again, just like don't put any money in this fight. This fight's a pure toss-up, but I think Shanna Young slightly better than Stephanie Egger. What did we see out of Egger before the UFC, fighting in those Buddy MMA clashes, those events? She fought once in Ryzen in 2019, in Invicta as well, and Shanna Young before that, a lot of fights in Invicta and King of the Cage. I'd like Shanna Young to win this fight. I think she's got the better ground game. On the feet, it's a pure toss-up, but I think Young just barely has better ground game, and we're going to go with Shanna Young to beat Stephanie Egger by decision. Now a matchup at women's flyweight, we've got Antonina Shevchenko taking on Casey O'Neill. Casey O'Neill undefeated coming into this fight. She's 7-0, and for Antonina Shevchenko, her last fight was not great. She fought Andrea Lee, and she had no answers to the ground game of Lee. Andrea Lee, in that second round, bunch of submission attempts, eventually finished the job with the triangle armbar with about 8 seconds left to go in that second round. But before that, for Shevchenko, she comes in, she dominates on the ground against Ariane Lipski, so it's a weird combo right there. And before that, she fought Kaylin Kuchagian, where she got out-wrestled throughout that entire fight too. And before that, she beat Pirrello, where she out-wrestled her and out-grappled her and finished her with a rear naked choke. It is weird gauging where an Antonina Shevchenko fight is going to go, because you think she's got such a great ground game after watching the Pirrello fight, after watching the Lipski fight, but then right after the Pirrello fight, she loses to Kuchagian, who I didn't think that was fair matchmaking at all. At the time, I said this fight won't even be competitive. It wasn't. Kuchagian went right in there and destroyed Antonina Shevchenko. But after the Lipski fight, you're thinking, okay, Shevchenko's got an improved ground game. Coming to the Andrea Lee fight, who's a top 15 fighter, but Lee goes in there just absolutely, it wasn't even a contest in that one. Andrea Lee was miles ahead, better than Antonina Shevchenko. So Shevchenko jumping back in there 5 months later against a great ground game fighter. I mean, Casey O'Neill, tremendous ground game. You saw in the Shanna Dobson fight. Now, given, was Shanna Dobson all that great in the UFC? She wasn't, but O'Neill took her down, worked her ground and pound, and eventually finished her in the second round. What did she do in the Procopio fight? Same thing. Took her down eventually, took the back outer hooks and finished her with the body triangle, and of course, putting in that rear naked choke and finishing Procopio in the third round. It was a standing rear naked choke too. It was an impressive performance for O'Neill. She's undefeated. She's 7-0, only 23 years old. And this fight, man, it couldn't be a worse matchup, I think, for Antonina Shevchenko, because O'Neill is a young fighter. She's undefeated. She's got a tremendous ground game, and that's where Shevchenko has struggled in the past. She's been able to beat fighters who, like Ariane Lipski. Lipski's got a solid ground game, but if you put Lipski on her back, she's not great, and that's what Shevchenko did. If Shevchenko's has a clear advantage on the ground, obviously she's going to win the fight. But when she really faces the elite levels of grapplers in the weight class, she gets beat. And I mean, Kuchagin's a solid wrestler. Leah wouldn't even say is like a staple of jiu-jitsu fighters at 125, but she's got a solid ground game. Casey O'Neill, that's all she does. So I like Casey O'Neill all day in this one. I think she's actually going to get a finish on Shevchenko. O'Neill, one of the few fighters at 125 that does go out there and get consistent finishes. I think she's going to submit Antonina Shevchenko. I think she gets it done in the second round, just like Andrea Lee did. Straight up weird fight. It's Johnny Eduardo and Alejandro Perez. Both these guys have not fought in a while. I mean, for Eduardo, this is a guy who's had 40 pro fights. He's coming into this fight 43 years of age, and his last fight was in June of 2018, losing to Nathaniel Wood by Darce choke on the Rivera Moraes card. And then for Alejandro Perez, he hasn't fought in a minute as well. His last fight was getting knocked out by Song Yadong, UFC 239, back in Vegas, July of 2019. That fight didn't end well for him. Perez's last win is when he beat Eddie Wineland back in Boise, Idaho, July 14th of 2018 on the Dos Santos Ivanov card. He beat Wineland by unanimous decision. For Johnny Eduardo, this guy has not won since Bader versus Nogueira 2 in November of 2016, winning by TKO in Sao Paulo, Brazil in the second round. I mean, Eduardo's 43 years old. Perez hasn't fought in a while. Just a straight up weird fight. I mean, Eduardo got a really good ground game. He has been submitted a lot in the past, but when he is on top, Eduardo is very dangerous. Solid striking as well. And then for Alejandro Perez, I mean, despite the fact of him getting knocked out by Song Yadong, he's got a really good boxing style as well. He won the Ultimate Fighter back in the day. His ground game is okay as well. But both these guys, again, you just don't know what you're going to get. You really don't, because, I mean, we haven't seen Eduardo in 3 years. We haven't seen Perez in 2 years. I don't know what to say, man. Like, I truly don't know what to tell you for this fight. Like, I think Alejandro Perez should win this one, because Eduardo's 43 years old. Perez is, what, 32? Alejandro Perez should probably win this one. Again, though, it's the time off. We haven't seen him in a while. He's supposed to take on Thomas Almeida back last year. That fight ended up getting canceled due to the pandemic, or, I mean, Perez got sick before that fight, but that one didn't happen. I think Perez and Eduardo, again, though, on the ground, Eduardo does have a pretty solid ground game, but we have seen him get submitted, what? It's been 9 times in the past. He got submitted by Nathaniel Wood, got submitted by Aljamain Sterling, got submitted a lot before he headed on over to the UFC. But this is a guy, Johnny Eduardo, who made his MMA debut back in 1996. I can't pick a 43-year-old fighter in this one. I just can't do it, especially at 135. Yeah, I'm taking Alejandro Perez to win this one. Do I think he finishes Johnny Eduardo? I think there's a chance, but I'll go with the safe bet. I think Alejandro Perez gets the job done. I think he beats Johnny Eduardo by decision in his return. Potential fight of the night right here. We've got Jamie Mullarkey taking on Devontae Smith. 2 guys who can strike and 2 guys really who do have knockout power. I'm a big Devontae Smith guy. You know, he had that setback against Kama Worthy, but his most recent fight against Justin James, very impressive. Finishing James, it was a doctor's stoppage, but still really put a beat down on James on his feet. But I mean, if you look at Jamie Mullarkey, he comes into the UFC, he does lose 2 straight fights. The first one being Brad Riddell, who's a tremendous fighter, and then losing to Fairzium. And after that, comes in, knocks out Kama Worthy, UFC 260, got the job done in 46 seconds. And yes, that was on a main card of a pay-per-view. And now he's on the prelims right after getting a spectacular knockout in only 40 seconds. Putting away Kama Worthy, looked very good in that one. Jamie Mullarkey, tremendous stand-up game, and I'll say it right now, it's always going to be brought up every time Mullarkey fights. He did fight Alexander Volkanovski all the way back in 2016, and yeah, he got knocked out. But for Devontae Smith, though, I mean, this is a guy who's 11-2, comes in the UFC's, 8-1, wins in the Contender, beats Juicy J, Julian Rosa, knocks him out, beats Jung Hyung Ma by TKO as well, and then runs into that Kama Worthy fight, which is just straight up weird. I mean, Devontae Smith is like a minus 800 favorite. Used to train some with Kama Worthy as well. Worthy comes in there, knocks him out, TKOs him in the first round, UFC 241, and then again, Smith came back 2 years later, beating Justin James. MMA math would say Jamie Mullarkey is going to win this fight because Mullarkey, of course, beat Kama Worthy. Devontae Smith lost to Kama Worthy. It doesn't work like that. I mean, Smith is still young. He's 28 years old, and for Jamie Mullarkey, he's 27 as well. I mean, these 2 guys could get on a roll quickly. 2 prospects, again, not 23 and 24 like we saw with Casey O'Neill, but 2 younger guys in the weight class. I really like this fight. Both these guys can strike. Both these guys are very aggressive, as you saw in the Mullarkey fight against Kama Worthy. Both these guys will bring it, but I like Devontae Smith in this one. I mean, I really like the comeback, the bounce back he did have after getting knocked out by Kama Worthy. Comes back, puts on a very impressive performance against Justin James. Smith's striking is really damn good. He's got 10 knockouts to his name. For Mullarkey, though, he's got 9 in his own right. I have seen Mullarkey, though, go in there. He has been out. He really got out-controlled in the Brow Riddell and the Pharisean fight. Everywhere that fight did go. Got outworked in that one. I like Devontae Smith to beat Jamie Mullarkey. I think he will TKO him. I'm going to go Devontae Smith, second round finish. Gets the job done by TKO. Now we've got Douglas Silva de Andrade taking on Gaetano Pirrello. Douglas Silva de Andrade, a guy who came into the UFC undefeated. He was 22-0. Drops his first fight to Zubair Tuhugov, wins a couple fights Rob Font, loses, wins or beats Chito Vera, loses to Piotr Jan after that, beats Henry Brow, loses to Leron Murphy. I mean, Andrade just fought some really good fighters in the UFC. He really has. I mean, this is a guy who's 26-4 now. He's got 19 knockouts to his name. The only thing with Andrade is that his ground game has been tested a lot, and it really hasn't worked out too well for him. You saw that in the Renan Barão fight, and I know all judges gave Douglas Silva de Andrade 327s in that one, but I mean, you look at that fight, Renan Barão lands a takedown in the first, he lands a takedown in the second, and in the third, I mean, Andrade eventually just wore on him. And Renan Barão, by the way, at that time was at the very end of his career. I think he's still trying to fight. I mean, last I checked, he's supposed to fight Bobby Moffett. I don't think that fight ever happened, but that was Barão's last fight in the UFC, was Andrade, or Silva de Andrade, and yeah, I mean, in the third round, Douglas Silva de Andrade really taking over, working his strikes very well, leaving Renan Barão really in a pool of his own blood. Before Perrello, his last fight was his first fight in the UFC. It was against Ricky Simón. He hadn't fought in over a year. Comes into that fight on Fight Island. He gets submitted by an arm triangle choke in the second round. He fought on the same exact night on Fight Island where Douglas Silva de Andrade did lose to Leron Murphy. Perrello, though, again, just couldn't get started in that one. Simón landed a big takedown, eventually got him down, finished him with an arm triangle choke. That's what Ricky Simón's going to do to you, and on short notice, I mean, that's just a really tough ask for Perrello. This is a guy who wants to stand there. He wants to strike with you because he's been submitted multiple times in his career. I believe it's 4 now, or 5 actually. He has been submitted, and he's lost, 6 times? So 5 out of his 6 losses are by submission. He's not going to have to worry about that against Douglas Silva de Andrade, though. It's just not going to happen. Andrade is not going to come in there. He's not going to shoot for a double, and most likely, he's not going to look for an armbar. Douglas Silva de Andrade wants to stand. He wants to trade with you. So, I mean, this is a great stylistic matchup for both these guys, and I'm pretty sure Douglas Silva de Andrade, pretty sizable favorite coming into this one. You got minus 225 right now, give or take about for Andrade of the exact odds on the screen, but I mean, that's what we're sitting at about right now for Douglas Silva de Andrade. Like, I mean, again, Perrello could land a big shot. I wouldn't be surprised about it at all. I mean, I've seen Douglas Silva de Andrade go in there. I've seen him really work well with his strikes. Piotr Jan, I mean, that's what's going to happen when you fight Jan. Andrade got shot down in that one. He is 36 years old. Perrello coming to this one is 29, so Perrello, the younger fighter, by 7 years. But I do still like Douglas Silva de Andrade to win this one. I mean, this matchup stylistically favors Andrade so much because this guy's got so much power in his hands. I mean, look at the guy. The guy is built, man. I mean, Douglas Silva de Andrade throws very hard for a bantamweight. I mean, it's that simple. Perrello, I've only seen him in one fight in the UFC, and given it was Ricky Simón, who's a guy who's looking at the top 20, top 15 of the weight class currently, but I mean, look at the guys Perrello beat before heading to the UFC. It's not the greatest competition, beating guys with like 6-4, 7-5, 5-9 records. Douglas Silva de Andrade has been there with Piotr Jan, he's been there with Zubair Tuhugov, he's been in there with Marlon Vera, he's been in there with Rob Font, he's been in there with a former champion in Renan Barão as well. Given, did he win a lot of those fights? Maybe not, but I mean, I still like the striking out of Andrade. I think he brings I mean, again, Perrello could go in there, he can knock him out. I wouldn't be surprised, but overall, I like Douglas Silva de Andrade to win this one. I think he's an all-around better striker. We're going to go with Douglas Silva de Andrade. I think he's going to find that power shot. I think he will land it early. And I like Douglas Silva de Andrade to win this one by decision. Don't think he gets a finish, but I think it will be a pretty impressive 30-27 performance for Douglas Silva de Andrade. And Bethe Correia is back, and she's taking on Karol Rosa, and which will most likely be Bethe Correia's final fight in MMA. I mean, yeah, former headliner. She fought Ronda Rousey. When was it? UFC 190 in Brazil. She got brutally knocked out, but hey, I mean, Correia's back for probably her last fight. She's taking on Karol Rosa. Not a good fight for Correia. It's not, because it's her last fight. She's supposed to take on Wu Yan-nan, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that one, but I think that's who she was supposed to take on. That fight got canceled, obviously. Correia is now here against Karol Rosa, who is on a damn roll. I mean, look at her last 3 fights. She beats Laura Procopio. Now, she barely gets by in that one, winning that one by split decision. Don't want to talk about that one. Really don't want to talk about the Vanessa Mello fight as well. She looked good. Won that one by unanimous decision. The big fight, though, for Rosa, it's a Jocelyn Edwards fight. I mean, Jocelyn Edwards was coming off some big wins. Rosa comes in there, completely shuts her down, works her striking really well, eventually gets that one to the mat, and really dominated Jocelyn Edwards in the first, second, and third rounds in that one, overwhelming her on the ground. Tremendous performance for Karol Rosa. Really good fight for her. Bethe Correia, on the other hand, she's really, I mean, okay, she beats Sajara Eubanks, which was a surprising outcome in Mexico on the Rodriguez-Stevens 1 card in September 2019. Surprising outcome. I didn't think Correia was going to win that fight. She won it by unanimous decision. Good for her. But, I mean, other than that, you got the loss to Penny Kianzad on the Whitaker-Till card. And, I mean, Penny Kianzad, tremendous fighter. I know she just did lose recently, but Kianzad's still pretty good. She lost to Raquel Pennington, but, again, Kianzad's a top 15 fighter. But before that, losing to Irene Aldana, getting knocked out by Holly Holm, having a draw to Mary Renault, beats Jessica I, and then you got the Raquel Pennington fight, and then you got the Ronda Rousey fight, and before that, Correia beats Shayna Baszler and Jessamine Duke. Ugh, right? I mean, that was the point of the weight class at the time in 2014. You win 3 fights, you beat Jessamine Duke, you beat Shayna Baszler, 2 of Rousey's buddies, you get the title shot. Now, she did lose in Brazil, but when even the people of Brazil really didn't want her to win that fight either, but it's okay. Correia's 11-5-1 coming into this one. She's got all right boxing. Her jiu-jitsu's okay as well, but I mean, her 2 most memorable moments of her career is getting knocked out by Rousey at home. I mean, the home fight, it's in the main event. It's in Singapore. She's kind of like taunting Holm to try to get her to strike with her, and then Holly Holm big head kick knocks her out. Petchko is 38 years old. She's had 17 pro fights. She hasn't really looked great since ever. Like, I mean, she looked okay in the Jessica I fight, but you can make the case Jessica I won that one. Carol Hosa is going to win this fight. I feel pretty good about that. I think Carol Hosa is pure striking. She'll probably have a good chance to win this one, but if you incorporate the ground game that Hosa does have, incorporate the takedowns that Hosa will bring, and the jiu-jitsu skills that she does have, and you saw in the Jocelyn Edwards fight, Edwards couldn't do anything. Hosa working her ground and pound really well, even if it was from guard, working her elbows really well. Winning that fight on the mat, controlled Edwards. I like Carol Hosa to go in there. I think she's going to shut down Betch Correia, neutralize the offense of Correia. I like Carol Hosa to win this one. I think she gets it done by decision, and that will be it for Betch Correia in the UFC and in MMA, but I like Carol Hosa by decision. Now we've got Jared Flash Gordon taking on Joe Solecki. For Jared Gordon, 2 big wins back-to-back. Now, he did miss weight in the Danny Chavez fight, but looked good in that one. Won that one by unanimous decision. Beat Chris Fishgold before that, and before that fight, ran into the wrong guy at the wrong time. Lost Charles Oliveira. Dubronx won by KO in the first round of that one. For Joe Solecki, though, Solecki's been looking pretty solid. Comes into contender, picks up a big guillotine win against James Wallace in July 2019. Turns around later that year, beats Matt Wyman by unanimous decision, then submits Austin Hubbard by rear naked choke on Munoz and Egger, and then comes in after that, beats Jim Miller, controls Jim Miller on the ground. Solecki looked very good in that one. You give him the decision win in that one, 229-28 and 130-27, all for Joe Solecki. Again, for Jordan, it's the guy who's 17-4, lost it to Carlos Diego Ferreira, lost to Joaquim Silva and Charles Oliveira. I mean, 2 or 3 really good fighters, and before that, just a loss. Back in CFFC in 2015, I do believe for the CFFC championship, if I'm not mistaken, but I mean, yeah, Gordon's looked good in the Fishgold fight. That was a fight where he didn't have any corners. Paul Felder came in last second to corner Jared Gordon. He wins the fight, and the Chavez fight did miss weight, but looked good in that one. Won that one by unanimous decision. It's tough to pick against Joe Solecki right now, though. I mean, Solecki's looking very good. The Jim Miller fight showed you, I mean, you know how good of a wrestler Jim Miller is. You know how good of jiu-jitsu Miller does have. And given, what, he's 40-something now. He's 38 years old. It's an older Jim Miller. Not Jim Miller. But Solecki went in there, just beat him up. He really did. I mean, looked very good. Now, he did lose around on that one, but used his wrestling really well. Used his strikes to enter within range. Got in there, got the takedown, brought him down using the clinch. I mean, you look at the Austin Hubbard fight. Went in there, I mean, 3 minutes into that fight, gets the rear naked choke and submits Hubbard. The Wyman fight more the same on Overeem Rosenstruik in Washington, D.C. I like Joe Solecki to win this one. I think Jared Gordon will present some challenges for Solecki in this fight, but all around, man, it's the ground game of Joe Solecki, which has overwhelmed so many fighters in just the recent past. I mean, I like Joe Solecki to win this one. I think he's the way better ground fighter. Gonna go Joe Solecki to win this one by decision. Wouldn't be surprised if he does get a finish in this one, but sort of like the Jim Miller fight, I think Solecki gets it done through 3 rounds. Alexander Hernandez taking on the UFC newcomer and Mike Breeden. Alexander Hernandez is gonna win this fight. I don't think that's too hot of a take. I mean, I'll say it right now. I think Alexander Hernandez is one of the most protected fighters in the UFC. I think he is. And I know this is not his fault. He was supposed to be taking on Leonardo Santos. There was a mix-up with that one. Santos is now out of that fight, obviously. I think that fight, they tried to reschedule it. It didn't happen. I mean, Hernandez is staying on the card, and Santos is an old fighter as well, too. I mean, this is a guy who's, 41 years old? I think you got him and Eduardo on the same card you're supposed to. Like, Hernandez was supposed to win that fight. Now you take on a guy in Mike Breeden, who he's won 2 fights back-to-back, but he just lost in the contender series just last year. To Anthony Romero, he lost that one pretty decisively by unanimous decision. It was a pretty big win for Romero. Didn't get the contract, but you got a guy in Breeden who gets in the UFC before Romero, who, I mean, yeah, he can strike. He's got some pretty impressive knockout finishes. He did have the win over Brandon Jenkins, UFC fighter now in Jenkins. He flying kneed him in the third round back in LFA in 2019. And I mean, Breeden's a guy who's very active. He's already fought once so far in 2021, fought 2 times in 2020, fought 3 times in 2019. It's a guy who stays pretty active and he'll fight all the damn time. But I mean, Alexander Hernandez is going to win this one. I mean, this feels like the Chris Gritsmacher fight all over again. I mean, Gritsmacher, given he's 35 years old, Breeden is not that old at all. He's 32. But, I mean, still getting up there in age. He's an older fighter making his UFC debut. Hernandez went in there, just absolutely torched Gritsmacher. But, like, I haven't seen, like, a very impressive Alexander Hernandez besides the Gritsmacher fight since when he beat Oliveira and Mercier. I mean, he didn't look good in the Cowboy fight. Cowboy just starched him. You got the Trinaldo fight where Hernandez did not win that one, but they gave him the decision because it was in San Antonio. He threw like 5 strikes in the entire fight. Somehow he beat Trinaldo, and the Dober fight just got knocked down in the second round. The Gritsmacher fight came in there, was very aggressive, looked good in that one. Then after that, turned around, lost Thiago Moises. It's tough picking Hernandez fights because you just don't know which guy you were going to get. I mean, just remember the Alexander Hernandez, though, who came in the UFC's first fight. He knocks out Beneil Dariush in 40 seconds on a pay-per-view card. Ever since then, it has been pretty tough for Hernandez. But this is a fight he's going to win. I mean, Mike Breeden is a guy who's, I mean, he's 10-3. He's got solid striking, and he will present somewhat of a threat to Alexander Hernandez. Hernandez is not going to come in there. He's just going to throw a bunch of shots without, watching himself. He's going to go in there. He's going to fight a technical fight. But, I mean, this is a fight he's going to win, right? Alexander Hernandez is going to beat Mike Breeden. I feel pretty good about it. I'm going to go Alexander Hernandez first round TKO finish. Think he gets it done again. It's a fight he's supposed to win. Get this guy back against, like, real competition. No offense to Mike Breeden, by the way, but I mean, just come on. Hernandez is going to win. So I said that Devontae Smith versus Jamie Mullarkey could have been the fight of the night for tonight. I mean, it could, but come on. Nico Price, Cowboy Oliveira, just a pure banger. I mean, Nico Price, every one of this guy's fights are crazy. Alex Oliveira, more of the same. This guy doesn't give a damn. I mean, Oliveira doesn't care. Nico Price doesn't care. Just straight up banger. I mean, this was the perfect fight. Really, it was. Nico Price coming into this fight, he lost to Michel Pereira in his last one, losing that one by unanimous decision. And for Alex Oliveira, losing 2 in a row, the first being to Shavkat Rakhmonov, came in there, got submitted by a guillotine, and then the next one got subbed by Randy Brown by a naked choke on UFC 261 when the crowd was really more interested in saying F Jake Paul, but it's okay. Nico Price is not going to be one of these guys, though. It's going to go in there and it's going to actively hunt for takedowns and look for a submission against Alex Oliveira. It's not going to happen. Oliveira's going to get his way in this one, and he's going to be able to strike with Nico Price. Someone's going down in this fight. Someone's getting knocked out, and I'm excited for it. Oliveira seems like he's been fighting for forever. He's 33 years old. I thought he was older. I mean, the guy has had, 35 pro fights. He's been fighting in the UFC since 2015. Made his pro debut back in 2011 for Nico Price. Came into the promotion back in 2016. First pro fight 2012. The guy has been straight up just absolute wars since coming in the UFC. The guy will get into crazy finish. He will get crazy finishes. You saw in the Morono fight. You saw in the Joban fight. You saw in the Randy Brown fight. I mean, finishing Randy Brown from the bottom with hammer fists. Who would have thought? Knocking out Tim Means. Finishing James Vick with an up kick. The guy doesn't get into a boring fight. Alex Oliveira is more the same. And now, recently, what has been the pathway to beat Alex Oliveira? It's been take him down and submit him. Gunnar Nelson did it first. I mean, it was the first guy like in a while to do it. I know Cowboy did it as well, but I mean, Gunnar Nelson did it. You saw Dalby really replicate that style. Mike Perry landed some huge takedowns on him. Did Perry really follow up with the takedowns? No, but he slammed Oliveira like 3 times in that fight. The Rakhmonov fight wasn't really even a fight. I mean, Rakhmonov came in there, submitted him with the guillotine. And the Randy Brown fight, Brown got the job done in 3 minutes. Oliveira's going to get his way. He's going to be able to strike with Nico Price. I mean, really, this is just such a good fight. It's who do you think the better strikers? Who do you think can avoid taking enough damage in this one before getting knocked out? It is concerning for Nico Price, though. He just did fight 3 months ago, so I wouldn't be like totally on the Nico Price hype train for this one because he just fought Michel Pereira, and he took some damn damage in that one. I mean, Pereira throws bombs as well. Oliveira will throw very hard too. He's got 12 knockout finishes to his name. Price has got 10. I like Nico Price though ever so slightly. I think he is the all-around better striker, and the way Nico Price will fight. He's so funky in his fight style. He will do a lot of stuff that a lot of fighters will not. He's so unorthodox. I mean, hell, if Oliveira, I mean, this isn't going to happen, but if Oliveira lands a takedown, you always got to worry about Nico Price on his back. In the Randy Brown fight, the hammer fist from the bottom, the Vic fight catches him with an up kick. I mean, Price will do whatever it takes to win the fight. He will always go for crazy knockouts, and most of the time, he will get those crazy knockouts. But in this fight, I do like Nico Price to beat Cowboy Oliveira. I like Price to get the job done by decision. It should be very entertaining, but Nico Price gets the win by decision. It's a clash of styles here between Misha Cirkunov and Krzysztof Jotko. Jotko has been looking pretty solid now. I mean, look very good in the Eric Anders fight, using a lot of straight shots to beat Anders in that one. After that, he comes in and fights Sean Strickland. It's just, I mean, just wasn't a great matchup for him. Strickland is on the top of his game right now. Outstruck Krzysztof Jotko for 3 rounds. I think Strickland said he felt like a coward in that fight for not getting the finish, but I mean, Strickland did what he had to do to win that fight. Strickland is an interesting character, to say the least. But Cirkunov is now coming back down to 185. He did fight last at light heavyweight, obviously, fighting Ryan Spann. Lost that one. He got knocked out. Got caught very early by Spann. Spann's got a lot of power. He just does. I mean, knocked him out a minute into that fight. Before that, for Cirkunov, came in there, beat Jimmy Crute, who's a very good fighter in his own right, but Cirkunov got the takedown, sunk in the Peruvian necktie, and finished Crute in the first round. Before that, got knocked out by Johnny Walker 36 seconds in, beat Pat Cummings before that, lost to Glover Teixeira before that, lost to Volkan Oezdemir, beat Nikita Krylov, beat Ion Kutelaba, and then won a couple fights to start off his UFC career as well. Cirkunov's going to 85 for the first time. It will be interesting to see what we do see on Misha Cirkunov at 185 pounds, because I don't believe he has ever been there in his entire career. I don't know what guy we're going to get, because Krzysztof Jotko, what is Jotko going to bring to you at 185? He's a very good striker. He will throw a lot of straight shots, and he will not always get the finish, but he will put a beating on his opponent, like Alan Amedovski and like Eric Anders, those 2 fights. Now, we have seen Jotko get knocked out, though. Uriah Hall, Brad Tavares both did it. Strickland put a beating on him on the feet, but Cirkunov's not going to go out there and he's going to out-volume and outstrike Krzysztof Jotko for 3 rounds. That's simply just not going to happen. It just depends if you think Cirkunov can get a takedown against Jotko and get a couple of them, because that's really what Cirkunov's going to do. His chin has been tested, and it's not great, because I saw him get knocked out by Ryan Spann, seen him get knocked out by Glover Teixeira, saw him get knocked out by Johnny Walker and Volkan Oezdemir. Krzysztof Jotko is one of those guys. Now, he might not have the power a Ryan Spann does, or the power that Johnny Walker does, but Jotko will, over time, will put damage onto an opponent. It's a tough fight for Cirkunov. If you think he can land a takedown, I would go all day on Misha Cirkunov. Jotko, obviously, you think he's going to be able to stuff a couple from Cirkunov. He's got tremendous Greco-Roman, a lot of upper body throws from Cirkunov. If Jotko can fend those off, obviously, I think he's going to win the fight. It's a close one. It's a tough one to pick. It's striker versus grappler, and I'm going to very slightly lean towards the grappler. I'd like Misha Cirkunov to win this fight. The big question mark, though, is how is Cirkunov going to be at 185? This is a big guy for 205. Cirkunov looked very big at 205 last time he weighed in against Spann. Weighed in at 205 pounds on the dot. This guy's 34 years old, dropping down for the first time. He's 6'3". I mean, Jotko's 6'1". This is going to be a big middleweight fight. These are 2 big guys. I like Cirkunov if he can really use his wrestling effectively in this one and can use his grappling down at 185, and he can still be healthy and has, still the gas tank that he did have at 205, given wasn't all that great. Maybe not, but still can go in there, get takedowns. I mean, hell, Misha Cirkunov has not gone past the first round since June of 2016 when he beat Ion Kutelaba in Ottawa on the McDonald versus Wonderboy Thompson card. Cirkunov's going to get into fights, and he's going to try to finish him quick. I think that's what he does in this one. I think he straight away goes for a takedown. I think he finishes Krzysztof Jotko with a submission. Is it a bold pick? Definitely, but we're going Misha Cirkunov first round sub. Not confident, but why not? Let's go for it. Now we've got 2 ranked fighters at 135. I mean, Aspen Ladd, number 3 right now in the weight class. Macy Chiasson currently around number 10. This is a good one. Aspen Ladd coming back for the first time since beating Yana Kunitskaya back in December of 2019. Of course, she had the ACL injury. She's supposed to take on Juliana Pena. That fight, of course, had to get canceled. Then she was supposed to take on Sarah McMahon as well. Of course, that fight got canceled due to the ACL injury. And now she's finally back into Macy Chiasson, where this fight was supposed to be in July. That one did get canceled because Chiasson got hurt. And now we are finally here in October. I don't know what Aspen Ladd we're gonna get. I mean, if we get somewhat of the Aspen Ladd we saw in the Kunitskaya fight and the Sajar Eubanks fight and the Tony Evinger fight, she should probably win this one. If she can get that takedown early, if she can land on Macy Chiasson and avoid the striking of Chiasson, yeah, sure, Aspen Ladd should go in there. She should probably dominate this fight. It depends, though, because, again, we haven't seen Ladd since, what, December of 2019. We just saw Macy Chiasson go in there, beat Marion Renault, and did Renault land a takedown against Chiasson? I think it was 2 of them. Not great, because Aspen Ladd, I mean, that's all she does. She's going to go in there, she's going to try to take you down, she's going to try to finish you with strikes on the mat. If Chiasson, again, can keep this fight standing with Aspen Ladd, though, she will probably win this fight. I mean, I feel pretty good about that, because Ladd, again, she uses her strikes to close distance. When she does close that distance, she's going to either engage in the clinch or try to take her opponent down, and that's what Macy Chiasson's going to try to avoid. She's going to try to keep distance in this one and just strike from the outside. It's tough. It's easier said than done, though, obviously, because you've seen Aspen Ladd go in there when she's really needed a finish. She went into the Yana Kunitskaya fight in the 3rd round, just went for it. Finished Kunitskaya by TKO. You saw in the Tony Evinger fight, took her down. It worked on her on the drained the Duranemi fight's been the only setback so far for Aspen Ladd. Duranemi landed a very nice shot 16 seconds into that fight, put down Aspen Ladd and finished her. A lot of people didn't like the stoppage from Herb Dean. Aspen Ladd was not going to come back and win that fight. I was fine with it. But for Chiasson, again, she lost to Marion Renault, or she beat Marion Renault. Did get taken down, though, which is concerning, because, again, that's what Ladd's going to do to you. Shanna Young, she won. She lost to Lena Landsberg back in Denmark in 2019, beat Sarah Morris, beat Gina Mazzani, and then before that beat Penny Kianzad by her naked choke on the Ultimate Fighter finale card back in November of 2018. Again, it's pretty simple. Chiasson going to try to keep this one to the feet, try to outstrike Aspen Ladd. Ladd's going to try to bring this one to the mat and try to finish Macy Chiasson, probably by TKO, probably with ground and pound. I think that's what Ladd's going to do, and that's what I'm expecting Ladd to do. And with all that said, Aspen Ladd should win this fight. She's still 26 years old. She's very young. Yes, Macy Chiasson's a good striker. If Chiasson can avoid the takedowns from Ladd and avoid the ground game, Chiasson should win. But I just don't think that's going to happen. I saw Lena Landsberg be very successful in the ground game with Chiasson. You saw Renault, given Renault win the fight. No, she didn't, but Renault did land takedowns against Macy Chiasson. It was a closer fight than what, how old is Marion Renault? 44? Marion Renault won a round against Macy Chiasson, who just went after that. Renault got absolutely dominated by Miesha Tate, who hadn't fought in, 5 years. Aspen Ladd should beat Macy Chiasson. The pathway to victory is there. It's simple. Take her down, finish her with ground and pound. It's like almost every Aspen Ladd fight. I think that's what she's going to do. Aspen Ladd's going to come in there. She's going to get that takedown early in the 1st round. I don't think she'll get the finish in the 1st. Don't even think she'll get in the 2nd. I think she gets in the 3rd round. It's going to be an accumulation of takedowns and strikes from Ladd that's eventually going to do it against Macy Chiasson. I'm going to go with Aspen Ladd to finish Macy Chiasson late in the fight, 3rd round TKO victory, getting her back in the win column. Okay, so normally I would say this is a lock for Kevin Holland. The problem is they didn't do him any favors with this matchmaking. It's Kyle Daukaus. Now, what does Kyle Daukaus do very well? He brings guys to the mat and he either submits them or really works on them on the ground. Phil Hawes, though, is kind of the game plan Kevin Holland's going to have in this fight. Keep the fight standing, avoid takedowns, get up if you do get taken down, and just outstrike Kyle Daukaus. Because Phil Hawes, he had 30-26, he had a 10-8 round there. Again, in that Daukaus fight, late into the fight, that's what Holland's got to do. We're going to find out in this fight. Is Kevin Holland's ground game really that bad? Or was it just he ran into Derek Brunson, who's a fight away from the championship, and he lost to Marvin Vettori, who, I don't know. If Marvin Vettori had his hooks or had a body triangle against Adesanya, he would have been the world champion. So, Vettori's a tremendous ground fighter. Derek Brunson's a tremendous ground fighter. The other fight that Holland's lost recently, where he got dominated on the ground, was Brendan Allen. And the same thing said in the Thiago Santos fight. That's how Kevin Holland's lost every one of his fights in the UFC. He's won some fights by submission, but given it was John Phillips. It was Charlie Ontiveros, which I think is technically a TKO now. He landed a takedown and finished Ontiveros. I think they called it a slam, but Holland, we've seen him knock out Anthony Hernandez, Joaquin Buckley, landed some good strikes against Darren Stewart. It was a tricky fight for Holland, though. It was a closer fight than you would have thought. Beat Ontiveros, beat Souza, of course, won that 5-5 winning streak in 2020. He's dropped 2 so far this year. I think Holland should win this one, but again, Kyle Daukaus definitely has the opportunity to do so. All the submissions this guy racked up outside the UFC, comes in, they give him Brendan Allen first, a very underrated fight. I'll bring that fight up every single time. The only reason that fight does not get enough credit is because the main event was Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker, which you can argue was the fight of the year last year. Brendan Allen, Kyle Daukaus was a war. It was a war on the ground. Allen got the better of Daukaus, but it was a tremendous fight to bring Daukaus in on the UFC. He comes in after that fight. He beats Dustin Stoltzfus. He wins that fight. Foul scorecards for that one. He got 30-27, 30-27, and 30-26, all for Kyle Daukaus. And the Hawes fight, what you gonna do? Phil Hawes, good striker, good defensive wrestler. Megatron's gonna get you sometimes. And Phil Hawes, I mean, still undefeated in the UFC's 3-0, plus that win on the Contender. Hawes looked very good. It was a tough fight for Daukaus. This fight, though, I mean, everything points to Kevin Holland winning this one. You know that Holland's been working on his wrestling. If the Instagram pictures are real, and if everything that he's been saying and DC's been saying, Holland's been working some at AKA, he's been working on his wrestling. He has not fought since April of 2021, and that's a long time for Kevin Holland because this guy would fight every 3 weeks. I think if there's improved wrestling from Kevin Holland, he's going to be so dangerous in this weight class. He's only 28 years old. He's just getting started really at 185. But again, I think there's a chance we do see him at 170 eventually. Holland, his striking is so damn good. Like, I mean, this is a guy who almost finished Derek Brunson on the feet. I mean, if he landed a couple more strikes and Brunson didn't land that one takedown in the second round, Kevin Holland's probably going to knock out Derek Brunson, and he would be on his way to, I don't know, a Darren Till fight. And I mean, hey, that's a fight Kevin Holland might win because Darren Till's really not going to take you down. There are fights stylistically that Kevin Holland can always win in this division. Now, I think very highly of Kevin Holland's striking. The problem is, if his wrestling's never going to be, if his wrestling can't really compete with the top of the top in this division, he's going to just be one of these guys in the top 15, top 20 that's just really hovering around that. Hey, you can be in fun stylistic fights. If you match him up with the striker, he's going to have a chance. But if you match him up with the wrestler, example, Brunson, Vettori, hell, even Robert Whittaker, who can shoot a very nice boss double, he's going to lose the fight. Kyle Daukaus is one of these guys, and this is going to be the first test for Kevin Holland. Because if Holland can get past Kyle Daukaus, now you're looking at, all right, let's get this guy back in the top 7 of the weight class. If you want to match him up with the Jack Hermanson, we'll see. But I mean, again, right now, I wouldn't want that fight for Holland because Hermanson's ground game is so damn good. You could look at like Edmund Shabazian, one of those guys. But Daukaus will present that challenge to Kevin Holland. He will. If Daukaus can land that takedown, if he can land it once, he can land it twice, land it 3 times, like Vettori and like Derek Brunson did. There it is. Kevin Holland's ground game still isn't improved. It's still not at the point that we think it is. But I tend to believe that it was just how good Derek Brunson was and how good Marvin Vettori was. Those two guys are the best in the weight class right now. And Correia, yeah, he did take Kevin Holland down too. Holland landed that tremendous punch off of his back and won the fight. But those are elite grapplers. Kyle Daukaus, no offense, but I mean, come on. He's not on the level of Derek Brunson or Paulo Costa, at least not yet. Daukaus is 28, Holland's 28. I like Kevin Holland to win this fight. I think he stuffs a couple takedowns, and I think he'll finish Kyle Daukaus. This is going to be a statement win for Kevin Holland right here. He's got to come out there. He's got to stuff a couple takedowns from Kyle Daukaus, keep this one standing, and I think eventually he can get a finish against him. I like Kevin Holland to go win this fight. I think he gets it done. I think he'll get it done pretty early, but I think we will see his wrestling being tested. I think we're going to see it. I don't think he gets a first round knockout. I think he gets it done in the second round. I think Daukaus is going to shoot, and I think we're going to see an improved Kevin Holland where Holland stuffs a takedown, keeps the fight standing, finishes Kyle Daukaus on the feet. Give me Kevin Holland, second round TKO finish. I really want to see if Holland made those improvements. We'll see if it happens. If Holland can win this fight, though, he can bounce back really quickly like he always does and keep taking on fights because of Kevin Holland, who knows how to stuff a takedown and has improved wrestling and improved jiu-jitsu. With the striking this guy already has, again, this guy can fight every month and he can be a dangerous threat at 185. I like Holland, the new Kevin Holland, to win this one by second round TKO. So it is time for the main event of the evening. We have got two of the best at 205. We've got Thiago Santos, the former title challenger, the only man to have one judge score a fight against Jon Jones in his favor. Santos taking on Johnny Walker. Of course, Thiago Santos had that one split decision fight against Jon Jones. We'll get to that one in a second. And as for Johnny Walker, 18-5, getting back on his winning ways his last fight, beating Ryan Spann by KO, landing a really nice elbow on the Covington Woodley card, and eventually finishing Ryan Spann later on. I mean, that fight lasted a minute, but still ended up finishing that fight. Johnny Walker is a tremendous striker. We know that's what he does, and I'll get to how I think he can win this fight, but Walker does not give a damn. He'll walk straight into shots. He will take one to trade one. That's always been the mindset for Johnny Walker. He's going to come out there early in the fight, and he's going to throw some crazy crap, and if he lands, he's going to win the fight. If he doesn't land, it's going to be just like the Corey Anderson fight, where Anderson takes a more measured approach, waits for Johnny Walker to come to him, lands a nice hook, stuns Johnny Walker, and ends up finishing him in 2 minutes. We could see that out of Johnny Walker in this fight, or we could see the guy who beat Misha Cirkunov, but the thing is, he came in the Cirkunov fight, landed a flying knee, and then finished him 30 seconds in. Before that, beat Justin Liddell with the spinning back fist. It's so hard to gauge where Johnny Walker is going to win a fight, because the Ryan Spann fight, okay, don't forget how rocked Johnny Walker was in that one. He was rocked in that fight. He walks straight into a big shot from Ryan Spann. He's wobbled bad. Span comes in there, he's like, oh crap, I got him hurt. Walks down with his hands completely down. He gets caught by a big shot from Johnny Walker, where Walker just says a prayer, throws a haymaker, wobbles Ryan Span, eventually finishes him, and that all happened in 2 minutes. Like, it's a crazy fight, Walker and Span. I mean, it's a huge turn of events, because you think Span's got it, and then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, Johnny Walker's back. If Johnny Walker does this against Thiago Santos, though, I don't think it's going to be that smart. Thiago Santos, tremendous counter striker. That's really all he does. Yes, Santos can be on the offensive sometimes, and he can go out there and he can just go for it. But Santos, he's willing to stand there, he's willing to wait, and he's willing to counter, because Johnny Walker's going to bring it to him. Johnny Walker doesn't care. Again, Johnny Walker doesn't give a shit. He's going to go in there and he's going to try to strike with them. And he's going to try to bring the pressure on Thiago Santos. But I've seen Santos in there. I've seen this guy knock out Jan Blachowicz. I've seen him knock out Jimmy Manuwa. I've seen him go in there with Glover Teixeira. And it was the same thing. Teixeira was trying to pepper him up with shots. Santos waits. Big overhand right. Drops Glover Teixeira twice in that fight. But Teixeira ended up winning that fight by rear naked choke. There's no... Thiago Santos, black belt in jiu-jitsu, by the way. He's not great, though. Johnny Walker's not going to be taking Thiago Santos down. It's not happening. Like, it's like what I said earlier with Cowboy Oliveira. Nico Price isn't taking down Alex Oliveira. Johnny Walker's not going to try to take down Thiago Santos. So there's no threat of a takedown for Thiago Santos. And that was part of the John Jones fight. Santos, you always got to wonder about the takedowns for John Jones against Thiago Santos. And I'm not saying if John Jones was just a kickboxer, Thiago Santos was going to beat John Jones. I'm not saying that at all. But, I mean, it limits Thiago Santos' offense when he knows that he's going up against a very good wrestler, a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. Example of Teixeira, example of Alexander Rakic. That was Santos' last fight, UFC 259. It was in Vegas in the Apex. It was a boring fight. It was a terrible fight where Rakic, I believe, got his brown belt in BJJ. It was weird because the fight was never on the ground, but the reason why Santos was so hesitant to throw big shots is because he was afraid that he was going to open himself up to big strikes and big takedowns from Rakic, because Rakic is willing to level change, take this fight at the ground, and really just dominate Santos on the mat. And that was why Santos really isn't throwing leg kicks as well, and part of it is because he pulled both his ACL and his MCL, I believe both of them, in the John Jones fight. And I don't know if he really wants to throw as many leg kicks now in the Teixeira and the Rakic fight. He really didn't. Now, was it part of just him not wanting to get taken down because he's afraid Teixeira and Rakic might catch those kicks? Maybe, but there's going to be no threat in the Johnny Walker fight. We know what Walker's going to do. He's going to come in there, he's going to strike. We know what Santos is going to do. He's going to stand there, he's going to wait, and he's going to counter strike. Everything points to a Thiago Santos win in this one, and I know he has not won since he knocked out Jan Blachowicz, who's the current champion given, but he hasn't won since February of 2019. It's been a while since he's won a fight. But, I mean, Johnny Walker he's a good fighter, don't get me wrong. He's in the top 10. But Walker is so aggressive early, his aggressiveness will favor Thiago Santos. The Corey Anderson fight's the prime example of that one. Walker walks straight into a big strike. The same thing happened in the Span fight. I just don't think he's going to be able to last with Thiago Santos. I think Santos is going to land very early on Johnny Walker. This is going to be a statement win for Santos. I think it's going to be. Thiago Santos, first round knockout. There's the prediction. In the Nikita Kirillov fight, Walker got out-wrestled. Again, there's no threat of that. I really don't think Santos is going to be shooting for takedowns. We're going to see a kickboxing fight. That's what we're going to see. I like Thiago Santos. Again, the thing for me is Johnny Walker is going to eventually walk straight into a shot at Thiago Santos. That's always been the way Walker's fought. You saw it in the Anderson fight, and you saw it in the Span fight, and I know he still ended up winning the Span fight, but Thiago Santos is not going to be stupid enough to, when he rocks Johnny Walker, to walk straight into another big shot from his opponent. Santos, once he rocks Walker, is not going to rush it. He's going to tell Walker to get back to his feet, and he's going to keep landing on Walker throughout the fight. That being said, this fight isn't going past a round. Thiago Santos is going to come in there. He's going to knock out Johnny Walker in the first. I think Walker's going to walk straight into a big one. Thiago Santos, first round knockout. He beats Johnny Walker, gets back into the top of the division. Give me him. And, I mean, you got Blachowicz versus Teixeira. You got Prochazka probably versus the winner of that fight. You got Rakic versus Smith probably. Give me Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes, I guess. I mean, I know we want Reyes against the lower opponents. Maybe you don't do that, but I mean, you're looking at the weight class. That's really all that's left. I don't think the winner of this fight gets Prochazka. So, yeah, give me this fight with Santos and Reyes. I called for it last week. Smith won Rakic instead. I'm okay with that. I think we do Santos and Reyes, or hell, if Walker wins, we do Walker and Reyes, but I think that's what's next. We got Johnny Walker, though. First round knockout. Again, Johnny Walker is going to walk straight into a big power shot from Thiago Santos. And folks, thank y'all for watching this UFC preview and predictions here on the channel. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more UFC. We do one of these every single week, and we will be back for Mackenzie Dern and Marina Rodriguez, two tremendous fighters at 1-15 with a title shot potentially on the line. So again, folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba forever.